Did you watch Tour of Flanders at the weekend? Wow, what a race that was. Full of suspense, excitement, drama, and the finish, wow, what a surprise. Did not see that coming at all. Easily my favourite race of the pro calendar, and this year was a good addition. So away from the racing, some very interesting tyre tech to talk about, and that's the topic for this week's Tech Roundup. A look at tyre tech on the front line of the pro peloton. So Casper Asgreen of the Deceuninck Quick-Step team won the race not on tubular tyres, but on clincher tyres with latex inner tubes. So that is big news, the topic for this video. And also, Vittoria last week launched some tubeless tyre inserts, some foam inserts for tubular tyres. And Hutchinson, famous tyre company, have sent me some cool accessories to share with you. So take a look at those in a bit. But the big news really is that Casper Asgreen of the Quick-Step team won the race on specialised turbo cotton Hell of the North 28mm wide clincher tyres with inner tubes, the same as you or I can run. So since the beginning of time, pretty much, the pros have raced on tubular tyres, tyres that are glued onto rims with inner tubes encased in a sew-up tyre. Meanwhile, the rest of us, you and I, have been using clincher tyres with a hook and bead system using inner tubes of butyl or latex origins. And some of us, myself included, have dabbled in road tubeless, a growing trend in the road bike market for the last 5-10 years or so. And really the big question for years has been, why are the pros still using tubular tyres when the rest of us are using clinchers and tubeless tyres in some cases? And there's a growing body of evidence and research that shows that clincher tyres are a faster, a lower rolling resistance setup than a tubular tyre setup. Well, we'll cover that in this video. So here's a look at Casper Asgreen's very nice Specialized Tarmac SL7 Shimano Dura-Race Di2 group set and Roval Rapide CLX wheels with the Specialized Turbo Cotton Hell of the North 28mm wide tyres, clincher tyres with latex inner tubes. So Specialized and the Quick-Step team have for the last couple of years been doing some interesting stuff in the development of tyres. And last year we saw Specialized really making a big noise around tubular tyres, and we saw lots of Quick-Step riders using tubular tyres. So no inner tubes, a tubular tyre using a sealant to repair a puncture. So last year, lots of move in the pro peloton to get the team on the tyres away from the tubular tyres, which is used since the beginning of time. And lots of marketing around tubeless being the fastest setup. But this year we've seen a U-turn back to clincher tyres using inner tubes. And we've seen two things. We've seen clincher tyres with inner tubes, but also tubular tyres, the rapid air tubular tyre, being used with inner tubes. It's not common or even normal to use a tubular tyre with an inner tube. Only in the last resort, when the tubular sealant doesn't plug a hole, do you put an inner tube in. But to use a tubular tyre from the outset with an inner tube is very odd indeed. And it's worth adding at this point, this isn't the first time a big race has been won on a bike with clincher tyres and inner tubes. In fact, back in 2011, I wrote about Tony Martin winning the World Time Trial Championships on a bike with Continental clincher tyres and inner tubes. And he did the same again in 2014, I think, on Specialized tyres. And quite a few time trials have been won and ridden on clincher tyres. And I think the big question is, why last year were they pushing and using tubular tyres with sealant? Are they this year using clincher and tubular tyres with latex inner tubes? Why the switch? Why the U-turn? Well, I don't know the official reason. I guess it could be the team isn't down with the installation issues of a tubeless tyre setup and the maintenance of the latex inside it. Maybe they decided they don't need the puncture resistance of a tubeless setup and they're only interested in the rolling resistance benefits of a clincher setup, which probably is very small between a clincher tyre with a latex inner tube and a tubeless setup. I haven't really seen any data comparing those two, but maybe the difference between those two in rolling resistance is so small, but both are much faster rolling than a tubeless setup. And a clincher tyre with an inner tube, of course, is much easier to look after, much easier to change as well. And maybe they decided they don't need the puncture resistance of a tubeless setup, so they're going with the pure rolling resistance benefits of a clincher or tubular tyre with a latex inner tube. Just my hunch, love to know the actual reason why, and hopefully it'll come out fairly soon. In terms of actual rolling resistance, Specialized claims their clincher tyre setup with a latex inner tube offers 10 watts reduced rolling resistance over a tubular tyre. Now, a big caveat here, this is Specialized in their own testing, using their own tyres and their own wheels. The results may well vary with a different tyre brand and a different rim brand as well. And this claim is backed up by various other studies and research, and also the website, The Bicycle Rolling Resistance, a really good resource for independent lab testing of tyres. And the 3 best performing tyres on its overall list are tubeless tyres. So it's clear that rolling resistance is a big marginal gain that Specialized and Quickstep are going for here, and why they're trying different tyres, going to tubeless and then back to clinchers with latex inner tubes. They're clearly on a journey of development, trying out different systems and finding one that works best, the best performance with the fewest compromises. And it's because rolling resistance, although small in the grand scheme of things when you're riding at high speeds, when wind drag is the biggest factor, it's still a factor. And with weights being stabilised by UCI rules and aerodynamics, well, bike's probably as aero as it gets without a rule change, then rolling resistance, although small, still offers a tangible area to exploit as a competitive advantage over your rivals. I mean, a watt is a watt when you're a pro rider, and when you see how close the Tour of Flanders race was, then a few watts here or there can make a difference. Although it's difficult to get your head around it perhaps over a 250-kilometre race, over 6 hours, it all adds up. Every bit of energy you save at every stage can make a difference in that final, as we saw. So it may not be the game changer in terms of winning races, but it may well be. And Specialized, companies like Specialized and a team like Quickstep are trying to give their riders the best products to do their best performance, give them every advantage they can in a potential race winning situation. And there's clearly a lot of marketing going on here as well. Now, Specialized gets fairly criticised for their marketing messages, and we saw it last year, promoting the hell out of tubeless being the best thing since sliced bread. And this year, big U-turn away from tubeless to clincher tyres with inner tubes. So interesting one for them to market. We got one message last year, a different message this year. And I know people get fairly cynical about these conflicting marketing messages. But the thing is, pro bike racing is unique in the fact you can buy the actual bike and ride the actual roads that your sporting heroes are riding and racing on. And a few other sports, well, no other sports offer that opportunity to buy the same equipment and ride the same roads as those sporting heroes. But that creates 2 problems. On one hand, the manufacturers, the engineers, developers use pro bike racing to develop new products, and they get that sporting success because a victory does count for a lot for marketing messages, and also lots of consumers want the validation of a pro bike rider winning on that bike or those tyres on those wheels to inform their buying decision. A winning bike sells lots of bikes, as simple as that. Not all of you are down with that marketing, but lots of you are. So that's a big factor. But then the other factor is the bikes that you and I actually need to ride in the real world on crappy roads at low speeds with no support car are quite different to what the pros need. And we've seen this already with normal riders like you and I embracing disc brakes, wide tyres, lower and wider gear ranges, while pros are still on rim brakes. Well, that's largely changed now. Tubular tyres, which are an old-fashioned technology, and big gears. So we've seen consumers embracing technology while pros are reluctant. And all of us have been using clincher tyres for years and years and years. And it is bizarre that the pros are still using tubular tyres, a hangover from a century ago of development, while all of us are using clincher tyres. And so why the big reluctance from the pros to switch away from tubular tyres? Well, the main benefit, the biggest reason they still use tubular tyres is the fact when you get a puncture, you ride along the road with a flat tyre because the tyre is glued to the rim and won't come off like a clincher tyre setup will do. That means you can ride along the road enough for hopefully your team car or neutral support to come along, give you a spare wheel, spare bike, whatever it is, and carry on racing. And that probably explains why the team and the company have been pairing the rapid air tubeless tyre with an inner tube, because the bead of a tubular tyre is locked onto the rim much more securely than a normal clincher tyre for airtight reasons. And presumably when you get to low pressure, that tyre will stay on a rim longer than a normal clincher. Now, Vittoria have last week launched an interesting new run flat product which could help alleviate this issue and potentially be the transition from tubs to clinchers, offering the run flat ability of a tubular tyre. Now, last year, EF Education were rumoured, speculated to be trialling foam inserts in their tyres, and this week, well, Vittoria have confirmed that rumour by launching their airliner foam inserts. But what the hell are they and what are they for? Now, foam inserts are not a new idea. Mountain bikers have been using them for many years, and they offer claimed benefits from more casing stability, you can tune ride quality, better puncture resistance, run lower pressure as well and protect the rim. And they've been offered in cyclocross and gravel, and now they're coming to the road, it seems. But Vittoria is maintaining that the main benefit of its airliner foam inserts is the run flat ability when you get a tubeless puncture. So tubeless, for the most part, is fantastic and the sealant plugs most holes, but occasionally you get a hole that's too big for the sealant to fix. And in that case, this airliner, this foam insert, should offer the ability to run flat. And Vittoria claims you can ride up to 31 miles at a speed of up to 12 miles per hour on a flat tyre with a foam insert inside a tyre. And that clearly is a big benefit for the pros, gives them that tubular advantage when they get a flat, then keep riding until they get a support car or neutral surface and change a wheel or bike, and gives them the benefits of a faster rolling clincher or tubular tyre setup with the sealant if they use that. So potentially the best of both worlds. So it's basically a special foam in a sort of polygon shape which you fit inside a tyre, and it sits flush on the rim, quite small in diameter, and when you inflate the tyre it decreases in diameter, so it's not actually in contact with the outer surface or inside surface of the tyre, so it doesn't affect the rolling resistance of the tyre. But when you get a puncture, it expands to fill most of the space of the tyre, offering that run flat ability. It comes in 3 widths for 25, 28 and 30mm wide tyres, and you're looking at 24 grams claim weight per tyre liner, so up to 50 grams for a complete bike, which is nothing really, 50 grams on a bike for that peace of mind. They are £35 per liner though, so 70 quid for a bike, that's quite a lot of money, on top of the tubeless conversion if you haven't yet done that, so a bit more money. And then there's the other big question of how easy they are to fit. And I have tried a cush core setup on a gravel bike, and it was a pain in the, well, I had sore fingers afterwards, shall we say. Not the easiest installation. So I can see the benefits for the pro riders. They've got mechanics to fit them, so that's not an issue. The cost is not an issue. The weight's not really an issue. But for normal riders, for regular riders like you and I, is it too much hassle? Is it too much cost? Is it too much tech? Well, I guess if you're already converted to tubeless, you love the benefits of tubeless, but you want that peace of mind, that security, that if you get a puncture, like worst case scenario, you can't fix it, then you ride home, then it may be a price worth paying. It might be an investment worth looking at. And if you are interested in the tech, do let me know down below. I can see for many people way too much tech and no reason in their argument against tubeless as being too much faff, too much hassle. And I get that. If you only puncture once a year, twice a year, then the 5-10 minutes it costs to change an inner tube is nothing really. So it won't be for everybody, but interesting developments nonetheless, from tubular tyres for the last 100 years to tubeless with foam inserts and clincher tyres with latex inner tubes. Some interesting developments going on that might or might not affect all of us. Remains to be seen. And lastly, on the subject of tubeless and punctures, Hutchinson, a tyre company that actually launched with Shimano the road tubeless standard back in 2011, which sadly never really caught on. How times would be different if that tubeless technology back in 2011 had been embraced by more companies. We might now be in a better place in terms of tubeless than a bit of a mess that we are with compatibility issues. But yeah, real shame there. But anyway, the company still makes great tyres, and it makes lots of good accessories for tyres. So a pair of tyre levers for putting in your saddlebag, a big chunky workshop quality tyre lever, and a tubeless repair kit. Now I'll open this up. I will do a proper review on this, but I want to give you a quick look before we end this video because it's related to tyre tech. Now, I will do a separate video at some point on how to fix a tubeless tyre and how to repair a tubeless puncture. Had quite a few requests for such a video, so I will do that very soon. But just a quick look at this. So basically, if you get a tubeless puncture, you need a plug like this. Probably a new alien technology to many of you, but used in the motorcycle world and adapted for bicycles. And the idea is, if you get a hole that a sealant can't fix, you get one of these plugs. And they come in two sizes, 1.5 for road bikes where the holes are usually smaller, and 3mm for off-road, so gravel and mountain bikes, but use whichever size you need for the hole. So you've got this long plug for sort of sticky, rubbery material. So you have this lipstick-like applicator, and you unscrew the end, and you have this tweezery pronged tool. Then you remove a tubeless plug. Let me remove one. That's sort of a sticky, rubbery material, and you thread it through there, like so. And then what you can do, fold it there, put the cap back on, put that in your jersey pocket or your saddlebag, and you're ready to ride, always ready to go. Then if you get a puncture, you take it off, and you simply find your hole, push that through, and then you carefully remove it so that the tubeless plug is left in the tyre, and that in many cases will seal the hole, makes the hole much, much smaller, and the sealant can just repair it around the plug. And I've used these many times, mainly on cross bikes and gravel bikes, and I leave the plug in and I don't worry about it when I get home, just keep riding, just trim the end off, and there you go. So I'll do a separate video on that very soon, but I want to give you a quick look because they arrived in the post today. So some pretty cool products, put links down below. Hopefully you found this video about tyre tech interesting. I know it's a bit geeky for many people. And if you have any thoughts or observations about any of what I've talked about, then do let me know below. Are you team tubeless, team tube inside, or team tubular? Let me know down below with a hashtag. That'd be great to hear from you. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again very soon.